I want to welcome everybody to Durango Diaries, the Durango Herald's bi-monthly storytelling series. I'm Amy Maestas, the senior editor of the Durango Herald. Tonight, we're honored to have 4 guests join us to talk about aspects of Native American culture and history and a little bit about the annual Hozhoni Days. It's a month of pageantry, speakers, powwowing, and celebration of cultures, and it is the college's longest standing student-led tradition. We created this event with the intention to give these storytellers a chance to speak for themselves to the community here in Durango and about an annual event with cultural significance. And we have Natalia Sells, reigning Miss Hozhoni and a senior at Fort Lewis College. During this last year, she has worked to promote her platform to combat prediabetes, a disease she was diagnosed with just before she won the Miss Hozhoni pageant. Natalia plans to graduate from FLC and get her master's degree in public administration and to work with tribal communities.
Yat she Natalia Sells inishia gozatana nishla na shasha bushichin tola jitni dasha che kenya ani dasha nala adod ebadat enasha. I just introduced myself like Alyssa did in Dene. In addition, I'm also from Shiprock, New Mexico, there we go. I'm from Shiprock, New Mexico, as well as Tisnaspas, Arizona. So I like to joke that I've lived in 3 of the 4 corners states. One of the things I like to bring up is my name is Natalia Sells. I'm Dene. I'm majoring in business management with a minor in English communications, and I will be graduating this spring. Yes. So kind of like my story with the Hozhoni Days pageant started exactly 1 year ago, about a year ago, when me and one of my best friends decided to try out for the pageant. And we figured, you know what, this is probably like one of the last chances in our lives that we'll have this opportunity to do this, or something like this along those lines. Because back home we do have a lot of pageants. Back home in the Navajo Nation, we have like agency pageants, community pageants, Miss Navajo pageant, and they're very, very intense. If you've ever been to one, I probably wouldn't even make it past the application stage. But we figured this would be like a great chance for us to try this opportunity. And one of the essay questions I asked was, well, how do you see this role? So I actually went back and found my old essay question. And I didn't know we were being graded on the essay, honestly. So I just like wrote this in like passion and so on. So I wrote, the Miss Hozhoni is a role that probably has a higher emphasis compared to other colleges in the country. At the time it was she, because we hadn't done the name change and changed around the pageant yet. So I put, she represents all tribal nations attending Fort Lewis College across campus and to the general public. Personally, I see her as representing the duality of cultures that today's generation of Native American students live in, cultural and Western. She represents our will to rise up from the past tragedies to succeed in today's world by gaining the knowledge that was once used to annihilate our identity and assimilate us, and blend it into our lives to help strengthen our cultures and people. So that's what I wrote for my essay question. And going off of that, I really went through the entire pageant with that same mindset. It was the first time I ever ran for a pageant, and I remember calling my parents and saying, hi Mom, hi Dad, so I just turned in my application for this pageant and I'm doing it for fun with my best friend Rainey, so we'll see how this goes. Also, I think the first event starts next week. So my family were like, okay, just do whatever you want kind of thing, and just we'll try to make it for one day, one event. And so one of the things I really want to highlight, which is pretty awesome about the Hozhoni ambassador position, is one, the ambassador is a full-time student at the fort. And many of y'all have been to college, you understand that being a full-time student is a job of its own. So combining that with representing the Native student population at different events, building up your platform, maintaining a good GPA, and being an active student on campus, it pretty much does become like another job in itself. And what's pretty awesome too with this name change that we're doing is that it eliminates sort of like those underlying assumptions of these Native pageant title holders. I had mentioned the Navajo Nation pageant. To compete in that one, you have to be unmarried, have no children, have no relationships. If you're a student and you win, you must take a full year off of college. It pretty much becomes a full-time job, and you have to speak Navajo fluently. And I'm someone who's still building up my own talking and language speaking skills. And so when I decided to go out for this pageant, I thought, okay, let's see what I can bring to this role. So like I said, this title pretty much is a huge thing because like it was mentioned earlier, there's over 160 tribal nations that are represented at our college, and about more than 30% of our student body identifies as Native American and or Alaskan Native. And compared to any other college, like was mentioned earlier with Dr. Holmes' presentation, that's really unheard of. So you have like this huge student population that you have to be this ambassador for, and it really is like kind of overwhelming sometimes, but once you find your balance and you really understand what your strengths are, it becomes that much more fun. So some of the basic responsibilities is pretty much attending spring graduation, speaking at fall convocation, and being an active member with the Wombly Oda Club the following year. So helping put on the powwow, be present for their fundraisers, and hold pretty much, a very active membership role. The title gives the ambassador also a platform. So that was something I learned while I was going through the pageant. Was one of the questions was, what is your platform going to be? And I thought it was just like, okay, you're going to go through and be this ambassador, but pretty much a platform describes like what your mission is with this title. And usually ambassadors or title holders will say their platform will be based on a cause, an issue, or something they're very passionate about. And for me, at the time, it was increasing the Native student representation, not only on the fort, but also with the Durango community. Because I felt like sometimes there was this misconception, especially on campus a lot, that Native students are just tuition waivers. And that wasn't something that settled with me very well. And I was trying already to like be an active student in a number of different on-campus extracurriculars. So I figured like this platform could give me that much more opportunities to increase that awareness. In addition, this was, like I said, the first pageant I ever entered. And when I won, surprisingly, there's a funny story with that. So I told my family that I was running for fun, and they didn't think I was going to win. Which, if you met my family, we're kind of like jokesters like that. And so I remember us standing there in Wayland Gymnasium, and they're about to announce the winner and the first runner-up, or first attendant. And I remember looking up at my family, and they're like, okay, we're packing up, we're gathering up our stuff, and they're like getting things ready to go because we were just going to like head out right after they declared the winner. And then they declared who the first attendant was, and then they called they're like, and our new Miss Hozhoni is, and when they said Natalia Sells, I just looked at my family, and I had this like, my friend's little sister recorded my reaction. I just had this like stunned reaction, and I looked at my family, and they're just like, did that happen? And then it was very surreal. I didn't expect at the time to receive the title, and I remember going up to my family, and my dad looking at me saying, well, that just happened. So can you tell us next time, give us fair warning when you decide to do something for fun? But it's been a great opportunity. I've tried to do a lot, as much as I could with it. I was someone like who kind of struggled for a second there with like the sudden spotlight that was placed on me because my name was in the paper the next day. People were stopping me on the street saying, hey, congratulations. And being a pretty private person in general and having like that spotlight on myself was something I had to get used to and really learn how to build up my public speaking skills. In addition, one of the other things I wanted to point out was for me, having this title wasn't so much about being a face with a crown. So as you can see, I placed the crown in front of me instead of wearing it. And I actually do that quite a bit, interestingly enough, when I do public appearances, because sometimes I feel like you just get stuck with this image of you're just someone who wears a crown instead of someone who has a cause with a title. So most oftentimes I'll just either just wear the sash or I'll introduce my position and title before I do a presentation. In addition, one of the things I really tried to stay away from was the notion of just making an appearance. My platform has kind of evolved throughout the year. It's started to include social justice issues. So as was mentioned earlier, Native women face a lot of stuff, a lot of very bad stuff. And one of the things I think would be a great way of kind of bringing that to the has been increasing that conversation. So talking about it at different events on campus or in my own community as well, and saying these are our issues and we have to talk about it. In addition, because of that, I decided to kind of stay away from the whole just showing up in my traditional or my cultural attire and just wearing a crown. Instead, I choose to be more outspoken about certain things. But yeah, definitely it's a great opportunity, and it's sort of bittersweet to give it up to the next person, but I can't wait to see what the next ambassador brings to this position, because it really does provide a platform for you to kind of put your passion out there and really promote something that you feel very strongly about. So yeah, so that closes out my part.